guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Tanya, and today I'm going to do a reaction video for you. I know it's been a little while, I think a couple of weeks. I've just been busy with family. It's summertime here, and I was, doing some vlogs and stuff. So I'm excited to get back into some reaction videos. And I thought today I would start with the channel Dreaming of Down Under. I reacted to her one other time and I liked her video, so I'm going to do another one. This one is 11 months old, but it was interesting to me because it's called Perth versus Melbourne, Australia, lifestyle comparison. So I thought that would be a really cool thing to react to because I know that Perth is like all the way on the other side of Australia from Melbourne and like Sydney and stuff. So like the States here, things are very different, like from the West Coast, the Midwest and the East Coast. So I was very interested in this video and I hope you guys enjoy it too. So let's go ahead and react to Dreaming of Down Under, Perth versus Melbourne. Also real quick, I just turned my air conditioner way up so that it won't kick on during this because it's very loud. But just so you know, this is like going to be one of the hottest days of the year here. It's going to be with humidity because the Midwest gets horrible humidity like the South. We're going to be over 100 degrees. So yeah, it's hot today. Okay, here we go.
Which city is better to live in, Perth or Melbourne? This video will run through some of the differences between the two cities and lots of important information like cost of living and rent prices and weather. I'm Lisa from Australian travel and migration blog dreamingofdownunder.com. I've made quite a few of these city comparison videos now and they've been really popular, particularly ones on Perth seem to be very popular, so I thought I'd make another one comparing it with Melbourne. I've got lots of blog posts comparing cities and giving city overviews, so if you head to dreamingofdownunder.com and go to the Where to Live in Australia section, inside the Move to Australia section, you'll find lots to read through. I've also got a blog post on this, which I'll link below. There's lots of other blog posts comparing cities and giving city overviews on there, so take a look through if you're undecided on where to live.
Cool.
I've also got a free Australian city comparison chart, which I'll link to below, and that compares all the state capitals in Australia, and it's got things like the cost of living, the average rent prices, the climate, rainfall, all that kind of stuff. Okay, let's get going. The first difference that I'll cover is the location. This is a really big difference, they're very far apart. Perth is at the southern end of the west coast of Australia and Melbourne is at the eastern end of the south coast of Australia. So there's around 3,500 kilometres between them, and if you drove that without stopping it would take around 37 hours. A flight from Melbourne to Perth would take around 4 hours. The second difference is the population. Melbourne is the second biggest city in
I think if I live in Illinois, for anyone who's new, and I think I heard that if we were to drive from Illinois all the way to California, it would take 3 days. Like if you have to stop or whatever. I'm not sure about like all the way through, but most people will stop and sleep. Like 3 days. That's how long it takes from Illinois, the middle of the state, to California.
Australia, and it has a population of around 5.2 million people. Perth is a lot smaller. It's got a population of about 2.1 million people, and
that is so many people. I can't imagine. I mean, I live in a city that's the biggest in my area, but it's still like, it's 150,000 people. That's it. It's still a lot of people, but man, I couldn't imagine living somewhere with millions.
The fourth largest city in Australia. Perth is a very long city though, and it stretches for around 150 kilometres up the Western Australia coastline. The third difference is the weather. So you do have quite a different climate in Perth and Melbourne. They are very, very far apart. Perth has a temperate Mediterranean climate and it gets very hot, dry summers and rainier winters. Winters are cool but still mild compared to places like England, whereas Melbourne has a temperate oceanic climate and it gets cooler weather than Perth and quite a bit more rain and cloud. In February...
Speaking of weather, I heard in my Discord from the Australians that are in there that you guys, it's getting really super cold, and even the southern end of Queensland got snow, like yesterday or something, and like that's very, very uncommon, like very rare in that area. So I feel for you guys. I hate snow. I hate it.
Which is summertime in Australia. The average maximum temperature in Melbourne is 25.9 degrees, whereas in Perth it's 31.6 degrees. Perth.
I'm gonna have to calculate that when I edit because Americans use everything different.
Summers are also slightly less humid than Melbourne's. Overnight in February, the average minimum temperature is 18.4 in Perth and 14.6 degrees in Melbourne, so quite a bit cooler in Melbourne. Remember, these are just the averages, and temperatures can really vary from the average, so I've experienced 40 degrees in both of those cities. In winter, the coldest month is July, and the average maximum temperature is 18.5 in Perth and only 13.5 in Melbourne. Overnight, it drops to around 8 degrees in Perth and 6 degrees in Melbourne. The biggest difference in the weather between Perth and Melbourne, I think, has got to be the sunshine. So Perth is the sunniest state capital in Australia, and it has around 139 days of sunshine per year. Melbourne is one of the least sunny state capitals, with only 49 days of sun a year. Melbourne also gets more rainy days per year than Perth. It has around 100 days of rain per year, and Perth only has 81 days on average. Perth still gets slightly more rainfall in terms of volume, so you can expect heavier showers in Perth. In Melbourne, the rain is spread a little bit more evenly through the year than in Perth. Perth has really dry summers with only 1 or 2 days of rain a month, and then in the winter it'll have around 14 or 15 days of rain a month. In comparison, Melbourne gets about 5 rainy days a month in the summer and about 10 in the winter. Difference number 4 is the beaches in Perth.
I think that if I were to move to Australia, which I won't, but I'm just saying, like, if I were to, I'm from the Midwest, so I'm so used to extreme weather. We get, yesterday, just Illinois alone got thunderstorms, tornadoes, and an earthquake. And homes were demolished, and it was bad. We get extreme weather. We're in the summer, it's super hot. In the winter, it's so cold that you can't even like go outside. It hurts to go outside. And we have humidity here, horrible humidity. So if I were to move to Australia, I would probably choose Perth based on weather. Like if I just based it on weather, because I would rather have the hot dry, because I hate humidity. Humidity sucks.
Melbourne, they are both coastal cities and they do both have beaches. However, Perth is really well known for having just gorgeous white, beautiful big beaches with lovely aqua water, and it faces west, so you get these lovely sunsets as well. Melbourne does have beaches. I personally don't think they're as nice as Perth from the ones that I've seen, but it still does have beaches. So you might have seen Brighton Beach on Instagram. It's got these really brightly painted bathing boxes, which are quite famous. And St Kilda Beach is really well known. That's got a really good atmosphere. But I think in terms of beauty, Perth probably wins. Also, obviously, with more sunshine in Perth, you're more inclined to enjoy the beach lifestyle. Difference number 5 is daylight saving. Western Australia doesn't have daylight saving, so the clocks don't go forward in the summertime. So Melbourne has sunset around 8:45 in the peak of summer, whereas Perth has it around 7:30 p.m. I have had people in the comments.
Yeah, we have something like that here, where most of the states do the daylight savings thing, but there's like there's maybe a couple of places that don't do it, and I think Arizona is one of them. So like while everyone around them is changing their clocks, like these states or these areas are not doing it, and it's weird.
That it's 8:30 in Perth. I've looked on many official websites and it definitely says 7:30. Difference number 6 is the cost of living. So this is a really important one because prices, particularly for property and rent, do really vary across Australia. I've got some other videos actually on property prices and rent, so I'll link to those below. You can have a look through. I'll start with the cost of buying property because this is a really big difference. So if you're moving to Australia long term and you'll want to buy property in the future, then it is really important to research this. So these figures are from CoreLogic, which is the big property data provider in Australia. They put monthly reports on their website, so this is where I get all my figures from. The latest report that came out on the 1st of July 2023 said that the median house value in Perth was $615,793 in June 2023, and in Melbourne, quite a big difference, $918,971.
It's a lot of money.
So that means Melbourne houses are on average 49% more expensive to buy than those in Perth. And for units or flats, the median value in June 2023 was 400.
And we're keeping in mind this is an 11-month-old video, so some things may have changed in the last year. And also I realized that you guys get paid more an hour, I think, so it's hard to compare this sort of stuff with America. Like, these house prices seem so high to me, even though we have houses that are this price, but compared to like what we get paid an hour and stuff in the States.
$17,643 in Perth and $601,174 in Melbourne. That makes Melbourne units 44% more expensive to buy on average than units in Perth. So Melbourne is the third most expensive state capital in Australia to buy property in. Sydney is the most expensive, and then Canberra, whereas Perth is one of the cheapest. I know a lot of you will be renting, particularly if you're only coming here temporarily, so I'll run through the rental figures as well. According to a rental snapshot report on rent.com.au, the median weekly rent in Perth for a house in June 2023 was $590 compared to $520 in Melbourne, so actually cheaper in Melbourne.
That's not bad.
And for a unit or flat, it's $500 a week in both Perth and Melbourne. It seems quite surprising that the Melbourne rent is so low, considering it's the second biggest city and it's so expensive to buy property in. During the pandemic, a lot of people left Melbourne because they had such long lockdowns and moved to warmer places like Queensland, and that affected the rent there. I would have expected it to come back up. I'm not really sure how much There's a cat. What do you think about Melbourne rent?
Yeah, I don't have my cat here today. He's somewhere taking a nap right now, like the rest of them, because it's middle of the afternoon and that's their sleep time. So sorry I don't have my cat with me right now. Her cat is so cute. And I'm surprised about these prices. Again, I know this video is like a year old, and things might have changed by now, but wow, that seems really low.
What do you think? Why is it so cheap? I'm not sure what the rent in Melbourne was like before the pandemic, but it doesn't seem to have come back up since then, so who knows what will happen. So next, the figures I've got from a Budget Direct report. So the cost of utilities for an 85 metre squared apartment for the electricity, heating, water and garbage was on average $212 in Melbourne and $194 in Perth. So not a huge difference, but more expensive in Melbourne. For public transport, that same article said that the average cost of a monthly public transport pass in Perth was $139 compared to $156 in Melbourne. Food, the article said that groceries were 1.44% cheaper in Perth and restaurant prices were 6.04% lower in Perth.
Speak of the devil, he heard the word cat. Hi, Ghosty. Say hi. Hi, everybody. Okay, sorry about that. My air kicked on and the cat came over here.
Too. So overall, Melbourne is much more expensive than Perth for buying a house or a unit.
I wanted to say, do you guys use like public transport more often than us? So the average person here, I don't think has any type of public transport, like monthly bill or anything, because everyone just drives here. I mean, I'm just talking about my own city. We do have public transport. We have like city buses, but there's no like subway here or train or, you know, anything like that.
The only thing that was more expensive in Perth was renting a unit. So next I will just give an overview of the kind of lifestyle in Perth and Melbourne. So this is just based on my observations and my experiences, so somebody else might have been there and had a totally different time to me. And I'm sure the locals who've lived there for years and years will have extra things to say, so feel free to leave things in the comments. So Perth is much smaller, obviously, and you can definitely see that like when you walk around the city centre or the CBD. Melbourne is obviously a really, really huge city. Also, Melbourne still has a lot of older buildings, so it's got some really, really nice kind of heritage architecture.
Oh,
so if you're
those
into
are
that sort of thing,
pretty.
you probably like Melbourne. Also, Sydney is similar that way.
I like the windows.
Perth is a newer looking city. It does have some old buildings, but it's generally quite a sort of clean
I
looking,
want to go
modern
there.
city.
I want to go there. That's so beautiful. No, that's my drink. Ghost. That city is so pretty. Oh my god. I really want to go there. Oh. I want to go.
Melbourne is a very fashionable city. It's known for its kind of culture and like hipster arty vibe. So if you're into that kind of thing, you'd probably love Melbourne. Melbourne is known for amazing nightlife, theatres, arts, all that kind of thing. It's got a really big coffee culture too. So lots of little cute laneways in the city where you can go have breakfast or a coffee. Yeah, it's really, really cool in Melbourne. So Perth, I would say Perth's CBD is kind of nothing special. It's quite small, it's fairly average, but it is set right next to a really big blue river, the Swan River, so it's very pretty. You literally just kind of walk a few minutes outside of the CBD and you've got dolphins,
Shark.
you've got
Oh,
water,
a dolphin?
you can get the ferry across the river, you can go on walks around
I've said this before, but I want to swim with dolphins so bad. So bad.
the river. So it's got lovely parkland. The sunset viewed from there is absolutely amazing. So
That's
in terms
beautiful.
of prettiness, I definitely think Perth wins. In terms of like coolness, I would say
I
Melbourne.
agree.
What do you think? Are you a hipster, or do you just want to go down the river and watch the sunset? What do you want to do? What do you want to do?
Just, I want that, Mom.
Saying that though, Perth still is a city and it's still like, it's not a small town. I did have someone message me saying like, if I move to Perth, will it be like I'm, you know, in like the countryside? will there be any nightlife? So it's a city.
Look at
It's
the
got bars,
lights.
it's got clubs, it's got restaurants, it's got all that stuff. It's just not on like the same big, cool scale as Melbourne. So number 8, I'm going to cover nearby travel destinations. So this is really to whet your appetite of where you might go on holidays or weekends away if you come here. I know for people from countries like England, like me, you're dreaming of coming over here and spending nice.
That reminds me. Everybody who comes to America to visit for the first time or whatever, everyone knows this, but they always choose New York, LA or California, and like Florida, maybe Texas. But there is so much more to America than like those 4 states. You know, oh, people go to Hawaii too, but this is the mainland. Is what I'm talking about. And there is a lot of like, yes, those are the big places that for some reason people like to go. Me as an American, I have literally no interest in any of those places. I mean, I've been to California, but not LA. I don't want to go to LA. I've heard it's gross. I've seen it's gross. No, thank you. I was in the San Francisco area, and the Santa Cruz area, Monterey. Gorgeous. I highly suggest you go to Santa Cruz and Monterey, and it's just, those are some cool places. But as far as like other places in the States, there's other tourist destinations that it's like people don't realize. And sometimes I think like, I wonder if I should make a video showing everybody all the other cool places you can go that's not like those standout states that everyone wants to go to, you know? Like here in Illinois, we have Chicago, of course, but down south, southern Illinois, we also have a mountain. We have mountains, and it's very beautiful. And Wisconsin has Wisconsin Dells, which is a great tourist destination. Missouri has St. Louis and Branson, Missouri, and those are awesome places to visit. This is, you know, all the Midwest, and there's cool places to see, you know. Indiana has like the Indiana Dunes and Indiana Beach, which is a adventure park or whatever. Anyway, but there are lots of other places that I feel like people just don't realize that there's other, I can't get it out. There are other cool places they can visit in the States besides these 4 extremely popular locations. But if anyone is interested in me talking about other cool places and showing you other cool places that you can visit, let me know in the comments and I would be happy to do that. I don't normally do videos like that, but you know, I feel like it's like, wow, everybody just goes to those, you know, few, you know, coastal states and like that's it. But there's so much more to America than those places. And also those places, the people in those states are so different than like the normal American. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know how to explain it, but anyway.
Weekends at the beach and going to these beautiful places, so I'll just give you some ideas. So Perth is on the west coast, which is a lot less developed than the east coast. So Melbourne is very close to the east coast, so you can kind of have short flights to more Australian cities from Melbourne. You could head up to Sydney or Brisbane or across to Adelaide, and also Melbourne is across the water from Tasmania, which is a beautiful island. It is about 10 or 11 hours on the ferry, or you can fly there. So in Melbourne you've got easier access to other Australian cities, whereas Perth is very, very isolated compared to the rest of Australia. However, it's a short flight over to Indonesia. I think it's only 4 hours or something to Bali.
Wow.
So in
I
terms
didn't realize
of
it was that close.
holidays abroad, if you'd like to experience that, then Perth will be better and easier. Also, obviously, it's going to be quite cheap in Southeast Asia compared to go on holiday in Australia, which is quite expensive. That's not really something I thought of when I moved here because I was just excited about being in Australia, but now I'm at the point where I'm thinking more about holidays abroad, and yeah, Perth you can just nip over to Asia for a cheap hot holiday. So in terms of the road trips you could do if you fancy heading off in a camper van or something, so from Perth you've got gorgeous scenery down the southwest. You can do a massive road trip to Adelaide if you have the time. I did that. I spent 5 weeks on that journey. You can do it more quickly, but there's a lot in that first section, kind of Perth down through Margaret River. You've got wineries, you've got great surf, lots of nice restaurants and things. Then you can head further down to ancient forests in Pemberton and Walpole. You've got really, really stunning scenery there. Further on, amazing beach scenery in Denmark and Albany. And then further than that, you've got Esperance, which has honestly like the most beautiful white sand and turquoise water. Really, really amazing. Also from Perth, you can head up north if you want to. I did that road trip, but too long ago to really remember. But that will be a bit less developed, I think, but lots of amazing national parks. And you could also fly up to Broome from Perth if you want some warmer weather in the winter. From Melbourne, you could head on a road trip to Adelaide, and in between there is the Great Ocean Road, which is really, really famous. It's a beautiful...
I did a reaction video to the Great Ocean Road, and I have a playlist. I think it's like... Australian reactions, or I forgot what I titled it, but I have a playlist of all my like reactions to Australian things. I think my New Zealand things are in there, and I have a video of the Great Ocean Road reaction if you're interested.
Coastal road that snakes along the edge of the coastline, and you've got all these lovely rock formations and nice little surf towns, places like Lorne and Torquay. You also got Geelong, which is another city close to Melbourne. You could head from Melbourne to Sydney on a road trip. Lots of lovely, lovely places like Eden, Bateman's Bay, Jarvis Bay up in New South Wales. In terms of island, Perth has got Rottnest Island, which is just a quick ferry ride away. It's absolutely beautiful, stunning white sand, stunning turquoise water. There's no cars there, you just ride a bike. Very, very fun. And
can I twitch my nose like Samantha and Bewitched and just like be there? Because that would be awesome.
And go to Tasmania easily from Melbourne. Absolutely beautiful. It's much less developed than a lot of the Australian coastline.
God, that's so
just
nice.
Amazing forests, lovely beaches. It's quite cool weather compared to a lot of the rest of Australia, but definitely worth visiting. So
I want to go.
My differences. Which one do you think you would choose? People seem to be very pro Perth on my videos, but that's okay. I really liked Perth.
I want to see all of Australia, personally.
In Perth for a while when I first moved to Australia, and then I travelled all of the south coast and up the east coast, and I now live in Sydney because that was where I've always wanted to live. But Perth was fun. Perth is really, really beautiful. It's a pretty city, lots of things to do, lots of scenery. I really like living there. So I think now I would choose Perth because I prefer quite a lifestyle, but when I was younger I would have chosen Melbourne. I think in my 20s I would probably go to Melbourne and really enjoy all the nightlife and all the cool cafes and that kind of thing. So summary: Perth, affordable property, great sunny weather, amazing beaches, relaxed lifestyle. Melbourne, expensive property, not so expensive to rent though, really cool, fashionable, edgy, great coffee culture, and yeah. Which one do you think? Let me know in the comments if you're thinking of moving to either of these cities, or if you've got any more questions. Sometimes locals chip in and might be able to answer them for you. Don't forget you can get your free Australian city comparison chart that's linked below. And please like and subscribe for more videos on life and travel in Australia. Thanks for watching. Difference never post, and that is a lot. Do you mind?
I liked that video. Yeah, to me it seems like Perth is where I would want to live. Like, it's more laid back, and Melbourne is more like I want to go visit there for a weekend and have a good time. You know, that's what I got from that video. I'm sure it's a great place to live too, don't get me wrong. I'm just saying, like, based on what she said, I'm more of a laid back type person, and I think I would probably, between those two, choose Perth. But it's all beautiful and I want to see all of it. But yeah, that was a really cool video. I learned a lot, and I hope you guys did too. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, subscribe if you haven't done that yet, and I'll see you next time.